Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Zodiac podcast. And today I'll be flying solo. Yep, no Scuba Steve, no Sir Benjamin, just me. But you know what? There's some things I do want to talk about. Um, I will be talking about WrestleMania 40. And I will point out that I'm probably not the only one that got a little emotional both nights. It was pretty cool. And of course, the Raw after WrestleMania used to be pretty off the chain. Now it's not what it was, but it was still pretty cool. We saw some surprises and whatnot. Um, and if I look tired, if you're watching this video, because I'll be posting this video on YouTube, but if you can't see me, I am a bit tired. I just got off of my day job. For those that don't know, I am a weather forecaster up in Oklahoma, and today we had some pretty ugly thunderstorms hit the area to the point where, whew, wow, it was a day. It sucked. It fucking sucked. I love what I do, take nothing from that, but it's one of those things where it's like, 4 o'clock could not get here any quicker. And yeah, I'm happy I'm home. And knowing that I had to do the podcast after work, it was like, ugh, I'll change out of my work clothes later because I'm still wearing my work shit right now. Excuse me. But actually happy to be doing this by myself. I need to learn how to grow on my own, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I've talked about this before. My voice in Oklahoma, it cracks. Puberty 2.0. Um, it's annoying, but it is what it is. The sad thing about the whole thing about WrestleMania is that I was watching it alone. Normally, I would be home with friends, making my infamous queso dip and enjoying WrestleMania. This is probably the first one since I lived in Alaska where I was watching it alone. And I still had fun. I still had a great time. As a matter of fact, those of y'all that are seeing this video will see this. I had to pull out an old friend of mine from her case. Hang on. Shit. Almost couldn't reach it. Had to pull out this bad boy, my one of my favorite belts from WWE. And those of y'all that can't see it, this is the United States John Cena spinner belt. Excuse me. I love this belt. The first time I saw it, I'm like, I have to have it. And then when I saw the US title one, I was like, oh, I gotta have that one too. Excuse me, put that back down there. One of the other belts I've always loved is the $1 million belt, and that is a belt I will have one day. I just don't know when. But again, voice cracking. There it is, puberty hitting again. I will say that night 2 of WrestleMania was way better than night 1. Night 1 was great. Don't take anything from it. Um, there were some matches on both nights that I was not really invested in, and there was a couple that I should have been, like the 6-pack tag challenge, which went in a way I predicted that one of the teams would win, but I wasn't sure if they were going to break up the belts. So, yeah, my whole thing was like I said, there was just a couple of these tag matches I just was not into. I could have cared less about, starting with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santo Escobar and Dominic, which ended up not being Dragon Lee. It was Andrade who joined Rey Mysterio. And I predicted that Carlito was going to do a heel turn because Rey never picked him to be his partner. And the seeds were planted for this story, but they didn't go with it. I'm pretty sure down the road they're going to bring that back up because they have a pretty good they've been pretty good about keeping tracks of stories and stuff like that. But I'm not surprised that Ray and Andrade won. Just the good guys win. Um, the Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill versus Damage Control. I knew that there was no way they were going to have Jade lose her first match in WWE. I just did not see that happening. Damage Control, I think they're a bit overrated. I mean, I love Asuka, And for those that don't know, Asuka is 0-6 in WrestleManias right now, which is sad because, and this goes back to when she won the Rumble. Oh shit, I forget what year it was. I want to say it was 2018, I think, or maybe 19. But she won the Rumble. Her and Shinsuke both won the Rumble that year, and then she faces Charlotte. And granted, Asuka had like a 300 or 200 match streak going on, and then they have her built up as this complete, total fucking monster, this beast of a person in the ring. And what does she do? She fucking taps out to the fucking the figure eight. And I remember just being like, wow. I almost quit watching wrestling that night. I was so upset. I'm like, this is bullshit. How are you going to put Charlotte over? Charlotte doesn't need to be over. I've gone on saying that I am not a fan of Charlotte. She's only where she is because of who her father is. And I know that in the beginning she didn't use the Flair name, but really, if you put a fucking blonde wig on Ric Flair, it's fucking Charlotte. Period. And there are women more deserving to be on the top at that time. And they got their time. But I remember a time when Charlotte and Sasha, for like 6 months, just traded off the women's title on Raw. Just 1 month. And it was at pay-per-views too. Oh, or Charlotte would win it, and then Sasha win it back on Raw. Charlotte went at the pay-per-view, and here comes Sasha Banks with it again. I mean, it just got annoying. I know I went on a tangent. I apologize. In my opinion, one of the matches of the night, the six-pack tag team ladder match, I am not naming all these fucking names. I just know that I didn't expect Austin Theory and Grayson Waller to win the SmackDown belts. But at the same time, I had a feeling they were going to give it to R-Truth and Miz. Miz hasn't had a belt in quite a while. And with the exception of the 24/7 belt, R-Truth hasn't had a real belt in a very long time. So that is very deserving. I'm very happy. I love the dynamic they're doing with R-Truth. The whole, he's not all quite there. He reminds me of, and those of you that don't know, this is again going off script here. I do commentary for a wrestling promotion back home in Corpus Christi, Texas called All Content Entertainment. I do their commentary. I don't use this name. I use a different name. I go by Trip McNeely. And those of you that know where that name comes from, cool points for you. 10 points to Gryffindor. But we have a guy called the Madman. And he does the most outlandish, dumb shit. Shows up where he's not supposed to be half the time. But it's fucking funny the way he does it. It just reminds me so much of R-Truth. And we haven't seen him on our YouTube channel in a while. And I hope to see him in the future. He's always fun to watch. He's always, excuse me, he's always, like the cheese fell off his cracker, but he doesn't give a shit. He still likes crackers type of thing. But like I said, I'm happy that R-Truth and The Miz, they're just, and I always felt like the WrestleMania that I went to, the last one I went to was WrestleMania 32. They had like this 6 or 8 man ladder match for the Intercontinental belt, and I believe the Miz was in that match. And again, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I believe Zack Ryder won the belt that night, celebrated with his dad. And then the very next night on Raw, he loses it to fucking the Miz because of Maurice coming back to WWE. And so I think they both are very deserving of said titles. I hope they can go far with it. And what they did on Raw, which I'll get to later, was even more special. This match, Jey Uso versus Jimmy, again, I was not invested in that match. I felt like it was long overdue, but I didn't feel like not at WrestleMania. I wasn't. And I know there are people out there that are gonna talk shit and be like, oh well, it was a great story. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just not a fan of the Usos. I've never been a fan of the Usos, and I'm not a fan of the Bloodline. I do not acknowledge the Tribal Chief. I'm one of the few, because I have half a brain. But either way, I wasn't invested in that match, so I really didn't care. Gunther versus Sami Zayn. Now, I had a feeling that this reign was going to come to an end sooner or later. I just didn't think it'd be Sami Zayn. I mean, I thought The Miz was more deserving. Even Chad Gable was more deserving. But the fact that they had Gunther bragging and taunting and just taking this sweet ass time with Sammy and ended up costing him the match. And that kind of, to me, that makes Gunther look kind of weak and kind of stupid. I mean, I would have preferred that Sammy just straight up got lucky and won. That to me would be more believable than him going, "Oh yeah, I'm the ring general and I'm going to do all this shit," and he ends up, overstepping the line, and gets pinned 1, 2, 3. So it is what it is. I'm happy. I'm happy Sammy got the title. I'm very happy for him. This one disappointed me. The Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. Now I knew. I'm a huge Becky Lynch fan. I've loved Becky since the NXT days when she was the dancing jig Irish chick. I fucking loved her. I thought she was incredible. I knew big things were coming. But Rhea Ripley is a very dominant champion. Granted, she hasn't wrestled a whole lot to defend the title, but when she does, it's a fucking 5-star match almost every time. So it's no surprise to me that Becky and Rhea went the distance. I'm upset that Becky didn't win it, but at the same time, Rhea beating Becky just legitimizes the fact that she's a champion, and it makes Rhea look even stronger. So I'm okay with it. Becky, from what I'm hearing, is taking some time off anyway. Her and Seth. But Seth is a broken down man. I'm not surprised at what happened on night 2, but I'll get to that. But from what I hear, they're both taking some time off, and well deserved time off for both of them. So good luck to both of them. My voice keeps fucking cracking. It's so annoying. The main event of the night. The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody and Seth freaking Rollins. Now, I've been watching wrestling long enough to know that Cody and Seth were not going to win that match. I've watched it enough to go, they're going to make the main event of night 2 so hard for Cody to win, and they did. So I did not see Cody and Seth coming out on top of this match. I saw, what happened was justified, any means necessary. The Rock overstepping his boundaries, like, I'm your boss, I'll fucking fire you, don't count, which is fine. Why they didn't make it a fucking street fight or a no disqualification match is beyond me. But then again, having The Rock act the way he does, it makes him look more like an asshole. So, okay, fine. It is what it is. But we saw a side of The Rock I've never seen before. At least not in recent memories anyway. But at the end of the day, it had to be that way. Not only that, but it gives Roman some confidence going into night 2. And it also puts some self-doubt into Cody, even though we know he's going to finish the story, which I'm so glad that's over. I'm sorry, but I was so tired of hearing finish the story. It was so fucking annoying. It was horrible. It was just, bleh. It is what it is. But overall, I give night 1 a B. If I had to grade it, I'd give it a B. It was a good night. There was a couple of matches I didn't give 2 shits about, but at the end of the day, one of the matches, the 6-pack tag challenge, definitely drew me in. There was a lot of spots that I'm like, fuck that. I'm glad I don't have to wrestle anymore. I'm glad I'm on the commentary side only, because there's no fucking way any of that would ever happen. So yeah, night 1, I definitely give it a B. I mean, it could have been better, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And based on past WrestleManias, back when Vince was still in charge, it could have been a hell of a lot worse than that. So, excuse me, moving on to night 2. And these matches are not in any particular order. The Philadelphia street fight, which again was just, I'm not invested. I don't care. I don't care. So I'm not even, the only cool thing about that was Bubba Ray was a special guest referee, and I forget who was talking shit to him. I don't remember who it was, but freaking Bubba pulls out the Dudley Boy glasses, and they do the what's up, and they put him through a table, and yeah, Bubba Ray gets a WrestleMania spot, whatever. And they were in Philadelphia. I get it. And on that note, I know it's a little late, but I do want to say, like he's ever going to listen to my podcast, but Paul Heyman, well-deserved spot in the Hall of Fame. I've been watching Paul Heyman since the WCW days back in the late or the early 90s and stuff like that. So a lot of the inspiration that I get as far as talking on the microphone, I get it from different people whenever I cut a promo on somebody, but definitely Paul Heyman was definitely a big influence on how I want to deliver what I do. And according to some friends of mine, I do a pretty decent Paul Heyman impression. I'm not doing it here. I don't do requests, call a radio station for that. But I do take from different people, like different people on the mic that are just incredible, like Paul Heyman, The Rock, Ric Flair back in the day, CM Punk. Oh my God, CM Punk, man, that dude can cut you without actually cutting you. It's incredible what that dude can do with a fucking microphone. But moving on, we had AJ Styles versus L.A. Knight. Yeah, I'm sorry, I love L.A. Knight. That dude can do no wrong. If he was a heel, I would still cheer for this guy. But this guy is so over with the crowd. It reminds me of Daniel Bryan a couple years back. He was just so over with the crowd. And it's just a matter of time before this dude gets a title shot. So I hope a real title shot, like the U.S. title or even the heavyweight or wherever Cody ends up, because apparently the draft is coming up soon. So I got a feeling they're not going to pull. They're going to keep Cody on Raw. Raw is where the A players are at. And I hate to say that, but Raw is where the A plus players go. And SmackDown is like the NXT of the main roster. And it's been that way for a very long time. It used to not be that way. There was a time when SmackDown was the show to watch. Now, not so much. So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But moving on, the U.S. triple threat match. Kevin Owens versus, there's the crack again. Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton versus Logan Paul. Now, that being said, I am not, I repeat, not the biggest fan of Logan Paul. But the things that guy can do in the ring is fucking incredible. I mean, I'm sorry, that people, wrestling's fake, wrestling's fake. Yeah, the storyline is scripted, but the shit he can do in the ring is fucking incredible. And not just him, but everybody in general. But Logan Paul, who has had minimal training, and to do what he's doing, he's a fucking natural at it. And it's actually quite what's the word I'm looking for here? Inspiring, for somebody who wants to try to do the same thing and thinks, oh, I can't do it. Oh, fucking Logan Paul do it. You can do it too. But I did see there being an issue or issues between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, but that's fine. It was just a matter of time before they fought each other, which is fine. That pop-up powerbomb RKO that Randy Orton did was fucking incredible. It seems like every year at WrestleMania, freaking Randy Orton has to pull out some sort of special RKO. One of my favorites was when he threw Seth Rollins in the air, RKO'd him at the Levi Stadium, which I believe was WrestleMania 31. And that was the same night that Seth cashed in the heist of the century and cashed in on Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which, to be fair, that match was fucking boring. They called an audible, and it was right. They hit a home run. It was great. Just seeing him running out and taking on both these guys and then walking out with the title. Again, I am not a Seth Rollins fan. I never have been. I think his song is so fucking annoying to me. He's a wannabe Chris Jericho, but at the same time, he's done some pretty cool shit. I have to respect that. I will respect that. I just don't like him. And it's not because he's dating my future wife, Becky Lynch. It's just because I've never liked him. Even before that, when he was in the Shield, I always thought he was the weak link. And then he's the motherfucker that turned his back on his brothers for Fortune and Glory. But that's either here or there. Moving on, Io Sky versus Bayley. If you didn't think Bayley was going to win this match, you are fucking stupid. All the shit that Bayley has gone through the past year, she was going to win this fucking title. That was just a fact. They were going to give her the title. They were going to make up for the fact that Damage Control pretty much absorbed 2 more people. And they were like, oh, we have too many people. Get out. And talk behind her back and beating her up every chance they got. And Bayley, for the good part of like 3-4 years, has been a heel. So it was just a matter of time before she became a face again. And what better way than WrestleMania? So I'm actually very happy for Bayley. And Bayley, I know after her injury, people were like, oh, she'll never be the same again. I think those people are wrong. I think she's back. And I'm kind of curious if they're going to have the draft and Damian Priest. Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I have a feeling that the champions are going to swap. So, yeah. This next one, I loved it twice, only because of the outcome. Yeah, Drew McIntyre versus Seth freaking Rollins. Now, I knew Drew was going to win this match because Seth is a broken down man, bad knees, bad back. The dude can barely do what he does, but he does it, and it's impressive. Like I said, I don't like the guy, but I respect what he does. So it is what it is. So the fact that Drew came out the gate with a Claymore and damn near won them, like almost like Sheamus against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 27. It's like, okay. Squash match, I'm okay with it, but it ended up being a real match. Of course, it was fucking Drew McIntyre's idea to put CM Punk on commentary that night. Drew McIntyre pretty much sealed his own fate before the match even started, because CM Punk is not going to sit there and take anything lightly. I am a huge fan of CM Punk. I don't give a shit what people say. I think a lot of the criticism he gets is one-sided. I think people just don't like him because of just who he is. The name alone pisses people off. I'm like, well, fuck you then. I don't care. I love CM Punk. CM Punk back in, 2011 or whatever year it was that the pipe bomb went out, got me watching wrestling again. I'm like, if fucking CM Punk could drop a promo like that and not get in trouble, what the fuck am I missing out on? So CM Punk drew me right back into WWE. And I don't watch I go to independent shows here and there. But I'm not an AEW guy. I'm sure as hell not a TNA or Ring of Honor guy. Although I have watched Ring of Honor in the past. I'm just not into it now. But the fact that Drew was able to not only pull off the victory, and instead of walking to the back with the title in hand, which he should have, he decided to go, hey, I got an idea. Let's go talk shit to fucking CM Punk, who's on commentary, who's injured and can't do shit. And pretty much gave him the fucking crotch chop. And then Punk was like, yeah, I'm done. Fucking did what he did, beat the shit out of him with that elbow brace. And I'm sitting there going, okay, where the fuck is Damian? This is the opportune time to come out. And sure as shit, he runs out full head of steam, knocks Damian Priest in the fucking head with that case. And the case launched across the outside of the ring. Like if you watch it, it hit Drew and then flew like past the Spanish announcer table. I'm cashing this in right now. Like, okay, we're cashing in. He does what he does, gets the pin. And Drew, and of course, CM Punk, when the music played for Damian, had a bit of a smirk on his face. Justifiably so. I'm like, fuck it, why not? But Damian Priest becomes the new WWE champion. And I just love the promo that Drew cut on Raw. But again, we'll get to that. But just my whole thing again is that why didn't Drew just go to the back where he belonged? He should have just won the title, maybe put it up in front of CM Punk, and then walked away. But no, he had to sit there and gloat. Oh, I won the title, and you don't have a title, and you can't do shit because you're injured. And CM Punk's like, fuck you, motherfucker, and does what he does. So if you have anyone to blame Drew McIntyre, you need to blame yourself because you should have walked away when you had the chance. Just throwing that out there. And finally, the main event. To finish the story, which again, I'm glad this is over. CM Punk. CM Punk. I have him on the mind. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief. Now, this match went a lot longer than I would have wanted, but the fact that it was full of so many surprises. Like, you got the Bad Uso coming out after a while. They beat the shit out of each other. And here comes Solo. He does his thing. Cody kicks out. And then you hear John Cena's theme, which I'm not going to lie, I marked the fuck out. I'm like, holy fuck, John Cena's here at WrestleMania. He goes out there, does his thing, whatever. And then the fucking Rock rolls up in there, and I'm like, it's about to get real. Once in a Lifetime 3 is coming. I mark my words, they're going to do that next year. I guarantee it. It'll be the night one main event is The Rock versus Cena. The final boss versus Mr. John Cena. They go and do their thing, and then you hear the boom. Like, now, in that spot, I was actually hoping. Actually, I got ahead of myself because Seth Rollins came out, but I'll get back to that. I would have preferred if it had been Stone Cold. It made more sense for Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania, just because of the history they have. It's The Rock and Stone Cold back in the Attitude Era. It's like you're either a fan of the Beatles or you're a fan of Elvis. You can't be a fan of both in theory. You were either Stone Cold fan or you're a Rock fan. And I was a Rock fan from the very fucking beginning. I loved Rocky Maivia. I loved the character when they made him the bad guy and the People's Champion, the Great One, all that stuff. But yeah, Undertaker for just pretty much just choke slams the shit out of him, and he's done. But I did love that they played the Shield music, and my first thought was, "Holy crap, Dean Ambrose is here. Where?" And I'm like, "Where? Where is this motherfucker?" Because it would have made sense to have him there. I think he's still under contract with AEW, so maybe it wouldn't have worked. But Seth Rollins comes out in the Shield gear and does absolutely nothing and gets blasted by Roman Reigns. He's got Cody in one corner and he's got Seth in the other. And it's like, who do I hit first? Do I hit my opponent or the guy who turned his back and said I was his brother? And he hits fucking Seth in the back. And the way he hit him was very reminiscent of how Seth hit Roman all those years ago. So a lot of good storytelling going on. But at the end of the day, Cody Rhodes pins Roman Reigns 1, 2, 3, and is the new undisputed WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And Samantha Irvin, I love her to death. You could hear the emotion in her voice, but when I saw the TikTok of her saying those words, and I've heard from different sources that Samantha Irvin does not want to know the outcome. Again, we all know it's scripted. We're not believing that it's real in that sense. But just the sincerity in her voice when that happened, you knew she had no fucking clue it was about to go down that way. So that made the moment even more special. And I'm sitting on my couch. I'm jumping up and down. I'm by myself. Would have been better with some friends there, but that's okay. That's what it is. What it is. But it was such a great fucking night. He's got his family. His Mama Rose is in the ring. He hands her the belt like he promised he would. Hunter comes out. Bill Pritchard comes out. Very, very well deserved. And it was a very long journey for Cody to get to where he was. I remember when he first came in with Ted DiBiase Jr. and of course Randy Orton with Legacy, and I used to make a joke because Dusty was a big fella, and his brother Dustin is not as large as Dusty, but he's pretty large. Used to make a joke. A buddy of mine used to make a joke that um, Cody had a picture of his dad back when he wrestled back in the day when he was a hefty guy on his fridge to remind him not to eat to keep that muscular physique. It's a horrible joke, but whatever works, right? Again, Cody, left for whatever. And again, this was back during the Vince McMahon times. Vince. I didn't want to talk about this, but I guess I'll bring it up. Vince McMahon is an asshole. Period. Um, Maybe he was the whole time he was there. Maybe he was just there towards the end. But at the end of the day, um, Vince McMahon was out of touch with the fans. I mean, it took a movement for him to go, oh, you know what? Maybe we should make Daniel Bryan go to WrestleMania 30 and beat who was the champion back then? Was it Randy Orton? I forget who the fuck it was. Yeah, it was Randy Orton. He had to fight Randy Orton and Batista, who won the Rumble that year. But who was it? Triple H had to face Daniel Bryan for him to go on to that match. But and on all the shit that's coming out about Vince, it's not surprising. He seems like the kind of guy that would pull like some Bill Cosby bullshit. And when you're a man of power, of course, you're going to take advantage. And I get that. I'm not justifying anything he's done. But I just hate that it took so long for people to come out and say something. I mean, I wish they'd done this years ago. But I get why people don't. They're afraid that they're going to lose their job. They're afraid they're going to be blacklisted. I get that. I understand that. But I'm glad it's happening. He's gone. A lot of good talent that was fired has come back for the most part. Again, in WrestleMania Night 2, A plus. I mean, I couldn't have been happier. I know I'm not the only one to say that, but it was a great night. Yeah, it was such a fun night, which leads us into Raw the following night. Now, the Raw after WrestleMania, at least in past times, has been a total just fun, good time. The beach ball, we all remember the beach ball. Surprise people come back. Like I was thinking that Alexa Bliss might come back. I know Charlotte's not coming back for a while because that knee is being rehabbed. But at least Alexa Bliss. I heard off tape during a commercial break that there was some cryptic videos that were put out there that may be teasing Uncle Howie, which is Bo Dallas. We've already figured that out, which I'm okay with that. If you want to continue the legacy, but do it right, do it fucking right, it'll be great. And I do know that there was talk a long time ago with Bray Wyatt that Bo Dallas, of course, was going to be Uncle Howie, but his sister was supposed to be Sister Abigail, which is the finishing move he does. So I think they could still do it, but they need to do it right and do it justice. If it fails and flops, it just tarnishes everything that Bray Wyatt did. Personally, I think they shouldn't do it just because of the possibility of that failure. But at the end of the day, I like to see what they can do with it. And now with Triple H at the helm in charge of creative, and Triple H, God bless the man, has done such an incredible job the past year and a half. People have been saying it all over TikTok. Triple H has made wrestling cool again. I'm watching WrestleMania, and it felt like I was back in 95, the Attitude Era years, when I was in my 20s. I'm just loving wrestling, and if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. And I saw a lot of people on my Facebook, people that I know, the people who I've known, that are like, I can't believe people are crying over this bullshit. It's scripted, right? I'm like, I know it's scripted. It's the story they're telling that gets us behind it. I'll give an example. When Mick Foley won the belt back in '99, And WCW was like, oh, yeah, Mick Foley's going to win the title. I didn't switch the channel because I wanted to see Mick Foley win. I switched the channel because I wanted to see how it's going to happen. Because if it's Mick Foley and The Rock, who already had a history to begin with, that was going to be some epic shit that we were about to see. And it was DX versus the Corporation, and then the Equalizers. If you haven't watched it, YouTube it. January 5th, 1999, I believe, was the date. It was somewhere in January. I remember that. Stone Cold comes out, chair shots everybody he can get his hands on, gives The Rock a awesome chair shot. Mick Foley gets the pin. The only thing about that night that upsets me is that it wasn't JR on commentary. It was Michael Cole. I'm not saying I don't like Michael Cole, which I don't. But that night, had JR been on, had the cans on, and was talking on commentary, the moment would have been so much sweeter for everybody. Not just for Mick, but for the fans. For the longest time, Jim Ross was the voice of WWE. And on that note, I know the higher ups at All Content, when I do commentary, they have dubbed me the voice of All Content. And that means a lot. It really does. And all because I watched their first episode of All Content and they had a guy on commentary and he was kind of bland. He was kind of, oh, and there's a DDT. And now there's a suplex. It was boring. It was bland. I'm like, it needs some hot sauce on it. I'm like, bro, if y'all need a fucking commentator, let me know. I will make it happen. And we made it happen. It was just me and that little dickhead Andrew Briggs, if you don't know, go back and watch the All Content stuff. I'll get to the socials later on at the end of the episode. And then, excuse me, then they introduced Sir Benjamin, my buddy Ben De Leon, to the mix. Ben, at his place, has a fucking studio. He's got a great fucking setup. My setup is fucking primitive compared to what he has. All I have is my laptop, a boom stand, the microphone, and my headphones. That's all I got. I don't have a mixer. I don't have any of that shit. I'm doing this off of Restream, whatever. This dude has a fucking mixer. He records. He can go in there and sample all kinds of shit. It's a fucking cool setup. It made sense to make him part of the commentary team. And I've learned a lot from both Ben and I know this is supposed to be a WrestleMania thing, but I can't talk wrestling without talking about Scuba Steve and especially Ben, because for the past almost a year now, because when we had our first our premium live event for All Content, just I can't talk wrestling without those two because they know just as much about it as I do, if not more. I mean, me and Ben are about the same age, and I've been watching wrestling since after WrestleMania 1. And that'll tell you how old the fuck I am. Scuba's a couple years younger than me, but his knowledge of wrestling is pretty spot on. So I don't know why I brought that up. I was talking about Raw and Cody, but let's get back on track here, guys. And this just proves that I don't even without Scuba and Ben, I can still go off script, and that's fine. It is what it that to me shows the true passion of something. If you can ramble on and you can talk about something that you love and forget where you are, like, oh my God, where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about this. That's true passion. That means you love what you do. You love you're enjoying the craft. And I did hear that they're slowly making the moniker away from sports entertainment to pro wrestling. And I'm like, fuck yeah. The next step is put the F back in WWF. Seriously. I'm sorry. I don't agree with the World Wildlife Fund taking that name that they had for a long time. WWF had been around since the 70s. And then not till the late 90s, like, people might confuse us, so let's change your name. Fuck you. How about this? How about WWE pays for the name and you call yourself something else? Seriously. I get why I get why they had to do it, but it pisses me off when I'm watching Peacock and I'm watching an old WWE show or whatever, and the F is blocked out, or they they blurt out the F in WWF, and not only that, but I was watching a show recently about the history of the championship belts from WWE. Every one of them that had an F on it, there was a piece of tape across it. And I'm like, dude, what kind of fucking world are we living in? Seriously. You know, anybody at WWE, Triple H, anybody higher ups, bring the fucking F back. Seriously. Because the fans, I think, have earned it. All the shit we've had to put up with for the past couple of years with Vince being Vince. Bring the F back. Seriously. Bring it the fuck back because the fans want it. I want it. The universe wants it. And even um, the night that Ultimate Warrior went in the Hall of Fame, he said that. He was same thing, bring the F back. Of course, that was a long time ago. Vince is like, I'll never do that. It's WWE. It's entertainment. No, motherfucker, it's fucking pro wrestling. Period. It's professional wrestling. Bring the hype back. Of course, they would have to resell all the fucking title belts, which is good for them because all the old ones become collector's items, which is fine. But bring back the old block. Don't make it like this one here. Make it the old block logo. Bring that back. The Golden Age logo from the 80s. Bring it back. Okay, now that I'm off my soapbox, we begin Raw with Cody with the longest entrance ever. Actually, no, take it back. Triple H came out first. Says thank you to the fans. Cody comes out. There's a rumor going around that Cody wants to bring back an old title belt. Rumors are it's going to be the Winged Eagle. I'm okay with that because he brought back the old block style of the Intercontinental belt, which I love that belt. That's the fucking ladder match belt between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. You know, that's the one that The Rock held, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H held that belt. I mean, so with the Winged Eagle, that goes back to Hulk Hogan and I think Macho Man had that belt for a minute. I know $1 Million Man bought it for a night. Just those belts have so much history behind them. And on that note, if they're going to bring back old belts, bring back the European belt. I know I'm not the only one, but I fucking love that belt. That belt, especially during the Attitude Era, that was like, it wasn't the Intercontinental belt, but it was the next step down. There was always a hierarchy to belts. You know, you had the tag belts, you had you had the European belt, the Intercontinental, and then you had the World Championship. Period. You know, now we have the US belt, we have the Intercontinental. We don't, you know, I just think they should bring it back, but not, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking outside the box though. Or you know what? Put it on NXT. You know what? I'm okay with that. It'll give me a reason to watch NXT. But Cody comes out, says his thank yous. That's what he has to do. And of course, the fucking final boss has to come out with that belt he got at the fucking Hall of Fame and do what The Rock does, which is steal the fucking moment. And pretty much tells Cody, I'm going to go away, which we all knew was coming because The Rock can't stay sit for more than 2 seconds before he's like, I'm going to go make another shitty movie that everybody will pay to see, which is another thing. I love how they say he's the biggest box office star in Hollywood, not the best, because he's not. I'm sorry, The Rock, the past 7 years has made some shitty movies, and they're popcorn movies. It's the same movie, Rampage, fucking Doom. What was that other one he made? San Andreas, I think is what it was called. They just, And then, of course, the Fast and Furious movies. Can those just die already? Seriously, they're so stupid now. But pretty much The Rock tells him that, oh yeah, when I come back, I'll cover for you. And I'm like, gee, what a shock. What a fucking shock. Not only does The Rock steal Cody's thunder on a night that was supposed to be about him, but he's like, oh yeah, I'm coming for that belt. And I'm like, it is what it is, you know, and The Rock is such a big draw that I'm not surprised they're going this route. But they're going to let it sit. They're going to let it cook. They're going to do what they want to do. I'm just looking forward to Raw being on Netflix because I'm hoping we get some profanity promos. That's what I want. I want some fucking profanity promos. We do that in all content. Even on commentary, I say fucking shit a lot. And I don't give a fuck because it's not censored. And that's the kind of commentary and or promos I want. Is I want people to say, you know what, you're a piece of fucking shit, and or whatever they want to say, and ooh, and I'm pretty sure that'll be the way it is. I mean, The Rock said fuck backstage, and people are like, oh my God, he said the word fuck. I'm like, dude, grow the fuck up. Seriously, we're all adults here for the most part. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about Raw just because it wasn't as great of a night or great of a show as it should have been. But the first hour was nothing but Cody and the fucking Rock, and it was no commercials. That's fine. But I will cut to the very end of Raw, and that's the Fatal 4-Way for the number one contender. I just knew that with Drew McIntyre in this match that CM Punk was going to find a way to screw him over. And he does once again. I will say this. I'm not sure if I'm sold with Pat McAfee on commentary. I'm not quite sold on him yet. He's great with what he does for the most part, but I'm still not sold. I don't know. I think he should stick to his show he has on ESPN. I think it's ESPN. And they should let what the hell, that guy that used to be on SmackDown, I forget his name, but he was a really good commentator. Morello something, I forget his name. I'm not even going to take the time to Google it right now. So, but all in all, the WrestleMania weekend, starting with SmackDown all the way to Raw, was an incredible weekend. And the Paul Heyman speech was the only speech I watched. It's the only one I cared about. I'm sorry, no disrespect to everybody else that was in the Hall of Fame, but the Paul Heyman speech is the only one I gave two shits about. Because Paul Heyman, like I said, has been an influence in my life for many years. A lot of the shit that I do on the microphone and even on commentary for the most part is because of Paul Heyman. And somebody had to point out to me one day that even though I am not a fan of Corey Graves either, they're like, dude, you're a lot like Corey Graves on the microphone. I'm like, fuck that. But they're not wrong. So I'm like, I guess it's a compliment, because he's been doing commentary for a couple of years now, and he's obviously good at what he does. He's like a younger version of Jerry the King Lawler, except he's not a pervert, always talking about puppies. But like I said, WrestleMania weekend was a great time. Awesome. I would have preferred to have watched it with friends and family. It is what it is. Maybe next year, with some possibilities are coming up in my lap right now. So you never know. I might be able to make it home for a WrestleMania weekend, take some time off, and enjoy the weekend, depending on where it's at. I don't think they announced where it was next year. Or I missed that. I don't remember that. You know what? I'm going to look it up right now. WrestleMania 41. Nope. They haven't. Have they even said anything about this? There we go. Oh, well, that's Money in the Bank. That's not WrestleMania. What the fuck? It pulls up. I typed in where will WrestleMania 41 be held, and it said July 6th, Money in the Bank, Toronto, Canada. I'm like, I didn't say Money in the Bank. I said WrestleMania. That's all right. That's all right. If it's not on there, they probably haven't announced it yet, which is fine. They've been talking about doing it in London, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went overseas for it. But that being said, everybody, I'm going to end this podcast here. It's a little different not having one or two extra voices in my ear, but you know what? We will make the best of it. Again, there's that fucking voice crack. Fucking puberty all over again. Shit. This is the part where I asked them to give their socials, but they're not here. So I will give mine. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Facebook. Just type in the Zodiac. You'll see a picture of me. I also have a Facebook page devoted just to the podcast. Just type in the Zodiac podcast, like and follow, please. And you can find the audio version of this particular podcast and many others before it on Spotify for podcasters and just regular on Spotify. Just search the Zodiac podcast, and you'll find it. And if I can do it right, this particular podcast, this episode 4, will be the first video podcast I put on YouTube, which again, search the Zodiac podcast. So I do love doing this podcast. I know it's still new. I'm still finding my niche and still finding my audience, but that will come with time. And something else I need to plug. After giving all that out, I am a new sponsor of the All Content Entertainment promotion. So if you want to follow them on YouTube, and they throw out new episodes every other Thursday. We just had one this past week, so we shouldn't have another one coming out for another week and a half. But if you want to follow them, just type in All Content Entertainment in YouTube and on Facebook. You'll have past episodes of what we call Thursday Night Throwdown. And we also have our premium live events on there. The most recent one was called Sun, Sand, Bitches, and Suplexes. I didn't name it. I'm not in the writer group anymore, so I don't know. But we also on Facebook have Facebook Fight Night, which we do. It's kind of like a Sunday Night Heat type of thing, or a Superstars. It's just you have one match between two people, up and comers, and they get their shot. So if you want to follow All Content Entertainment, please do. They're awesome. Follow me as well, but definitely give them a look at. Again, just search All Content Entertainment on Facebook and on YouTube. With that being said, all my plugging is done and I'm done selling out. I got to cut a promo on Lord Draven here in a little bit. I'm going to take a break because my voice is tired. But with that being said, I am DJ Zodiac. This is DJ Zodiac Podcast. I started there for a minute. I apologize. Let me try that again. There we go. Once again, this is DJ Zodiac, and this is DJ Zodiac Podcast. I hope you will like and subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube page and my Facebook page as well. Until next time, make it so.